Hello everybody. Today, this is Honomi coming to you live for another segment of Ask an Explorer YouTube Live Foldscope Workshop. Today I am starting off with an image for you to take a guess of what this image, what you are seeing right now. If I just get you all a little more focused image. I'm using a natural light that's coming in through the window in my room. And take a guess what these are. Let me zoom in a little bit. Here we go. If you've seen this before, then you know this already. It's something that everybody has on their body. There it is. Those red things. Now the red color is artificial because I made them that way, and that's part of what you're going to see in this live workshop. So these are cheek cells, human cheek cells. Specifically my cheek cells. It came from my mouth just a moment ago before I came on live. I quickly took a sample from my mouth and prepared a sample for y'all. So today is a very classic microscopy workshop where we look into, where we look into your cheek cells. So let's get into how you can prepare your own sample of your own cheek cells so that you can see how healthy your cells are with your Foldscope. Okay, so let me show you what you need. Okay, let's set you all down here. Well, first, you're going to need your Foldscope. If you don't know how to fold your Foldscope already, check out our assembly tutorial video, which is on the YouTube channel that you are on right now. Okay, you will need a glass slide. Okay. Cover slip stickers that comes with your Foldscope kit. Okay. Alternatively, you could also use the paper slides, but I'm gonna use the glass slide today. Okay. And then here's the food coloring that I'm using today. I'm using a red food coloring that I have that comes in a powder form, and I just dissolved some teensy amount into a tiny amount of water. But you might find other types of food coloring. Perhaps you could find gel type, liquid type, any food coloring that you can find. Sorry, the other part is already used. Clean cotton swab. I'm gonna set it down here. Some toothpicks. Okay. And a pen to label your glass slide later. And I think that's about it. Also, if it's a nighttime, you're gonna need a light source. You could use your LED light that comes with your Foldscope kit, or you could use a desk lamp or a ceiling lamp. You could experiment with any type of light source that you can find around you. And if you're foldscoping during the day like I am, you can always rely on the sun. Just do not directly look into the sun while you're foldscoping. Okay, so let's get into the sample prep. So here's what you were just seeing. So we're gonna prepare this together. Okay. All right, so the first thing first is you're gonna need a sample from your mouth. So what I did is, I prepared a little bit of food coloring here, and then I just, let the cotton swab soak a lot. Okay, and then let's see. Let me just do this. Hello? Okay, so I did my cheek on this side, so I'm gonna do the clean side here. So I take my cotton swab and then just gently rub the inside of my cheek like this. Like that. Okay. Okay, so now the food coloring is on the inner wall of my mouth. Okay, now I'm gonna take a toothpick and just gently scrape down the size of that same side of this inside of the cheek. Okay, so now the sample is on this right here. Okay. All right. So the cheek cells are on the tip of the toothpick. So I'll just gently scrape it onto the glass slide. And it's hard to see, but it's getting on there. Okay. Okay. And now I'm going to take a cover slip sticker, just making sure that you're not touching the middle. You're just pinching on the sides right here, and then gently drop and place it on top of where you placed your cheek cell sample. Just let the air come out from the side so that there's almost no air bubbles. Okay, and I'm going to come in here with my pen and then label. Let's see, so July 29th. This is the last Foldscope Workshop YouTube Live of the month. Let's see, cheek cells with red food coloring. Okay. Now let's take a look. Now I thought about using food coloring. Well, I wanted to experiment with it and see how it looks like. And it works pretty well. definitely adds more contrast than when you're looking at not unstained cheek cells. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna use the natural light. Okay, let's see if we have anything in here. Hopefully I got my cheek cell samples on here. Wow, it's getting windy outside. Ooh, did I get any on here? Let's see. Ooh, some debris. Let me open up from the back and just check. Okay. Let's see. And as always, for those of you who are tuning in, welcome. My name is Honomi. I'm back with another YouTube Live workshop, and feel free to ask your questions in the comment section. And I'm trying to find my cheek cells right now, which I have stained with food coloring. Okay, so here are some very faintly stained cheek cells. Okay, so I should have put more of the food coloring in my mouth. Okay, there they are. Okay. I am observing my cheek cells. Hello, John. Thank you for joining us. Let's see. Let me make another batch of samples because the red did not come through. But here's a cluster of the cells that came out of my mouth. Let me just adjust the focus a tiny bit more. Yes, so these so as you can see, they're very translucent. These kind of they always remind me of sunny side eggs, kind of. So these translucent cells require a bit more contrast for us to see them well. So in scientific lab, normally you would use a stain called methylene blue. Yes, John, this is cheek cells. These are the cells that if you scrape off the inner walls of your mouth, they come off easily. And then they're usually stained with methylene blue. It's a type of very commonly used stain that adheres to DNA or RNA of the cells. And as the name of the dye, you can kind of tell, it makes the samples, it turns the samples into blue color, and therefore you can see the samples much better. But I don't have methylene blue readily available at my house, and I figured that it's not a very commonly common household item, I imagine, unless you're very enthusiastic about doing science at home. So I wanted to show you guys. I experimented using food coloring, which is much more readily available and much cheaper. And for the purpose of foldscoping, I think it works well. Didn't turn this one, so I'm gonna show you the better sample, which I prepared earlier. Okay. So this is the cheek cell sample that I prepared earlier. As you can see the red color in the middle. Okay, so I'm gonna put this in the Foldscope. Okay. Align the lens with where the general red area is. And then yes, so now we can see. These cells turned out much redder than the other ones. And if I can focus the image a little bit better. There you go. Then zoom in a bit. Yes, so as you can see, the food coloring definitely makes the cells stand out, and therefore making it much easier for you to observe them and find them actually. And now right now I'm pointing the Foldscope straight towards the window where the light is shining through, and now I'm gonna tilt up a little bit, and this is gonna create kind of a pseudo dark field. And then as you can see that at a certain angle, it creates even better contrast for you to see the cells. So definitely play whenever you're having a hard time sort of observing a very translucent sample like cheek cells. One, you can add contrast by staining them, and two, you can also add contrast by playing around with the light. And so these are the two techniques that you can play with to get a better image. So now that's a very beautiful image of cheek cells. All right. Okay. So as I move on to my next sample, if you have any questions or any requests for reviewing any part of doing foldscoping, please feel free to comment in chat. My next sample, by the way. I found a feather on my desk earlier, so I'm gonna take a look at that. Okay. So another last slide. And I think I'm just gonna, this is a pretty small enough sample that I'm just gonna put it right there as a whole. And then I'm gonna come in here with a cover slip sticker, making sure that I don't touch the middle part because I don't want to leave my fingerprint accidentally. And then just gonna push the air out and then flatten it as much as possible. Okay, here we go. Then always label your samples. Feather. Okay, so today's July 29th, 2018, and then feather, dry mount. Okay. Let's take a look. Okay. Yes, Mariana, thank you for your question. Let me just bring that up again. So if you have no more plastic cover slides, yes, you can of course use glass cover slips. I have a box of them myself and I use them often. Sometimes if you're working with water samples, these work much better, I think. So yes, you're more than welcome to use these glass cover slips, and they're pretty easily purchasable on any major online stores. Thank you for your question and thank you for joining in. Okay, so let's take a look at the feather. Ooh. Okay, again, I'm pointing the Foldscope towards the light, towards the window where the light is coming through. I'm immediately seeing beautiful details of this feather. And the contrast is pretty good. I can really see the tiny images, tiny details of this feather. Wow. Now let's experiment a little bit with the light. I'm gonna tilt the Foldscope up to change the angle of the light that's coming through and see if that changes anything, how the sample looks. Wow. Wow, that's really pretty. So now I'm tilting to this towards the left. And now I'm tilting to the right. Wow, it almost looks like crystals in this view at this angle. So yes, Yes, always play around with the light and see, you know, the different kind of details that comes through. Wow. So Mariana, if you're still tuning in, I'm curious what kind of samples you have explored so far with your Foldscope. I'm always curious what people like to observe and what they become curious about. Wow. Oh, these are beautiful. Okay, I'm going to move on to my next sample. Okay. That's the feather. Ah, plants and insects. Yes, those are really interesting. Okay, so I can definitely go over a liquid sample prep with you. Let's see, I have my water sample here. So let's see. I'm gonna bring my petri dishes and a dropper. So what did you find most challenging when you were trying to take a look at your liquid sample? Was it the sample prep, do you think, or was it imaging? Was it a sample that contains moving organisms? Okay, sample prep. So I can definitely go over that with you. So I have just regular glass slide here, and I see. Okay, so in case if you have a slightly thicker organism, what you can do is, if you have a deluxe individual kit, it comes with these kind of PVC slide, and what you can do with it is you can create a well. You can just place this on top of a slide, and what this does is it kind of creates this raised wall and kind of a well where you can put a little bit thicker sample in, and then you place a cover slip on top like that, so that the cover slip does not squish your sample, but rather it rests on top of the rest of the PVC, so that there's this a little bit of pocket for your sample, if that makes sense. So you could definitely try that, and then if you do not have PVC slides like this, then you can create your own well by using piece of paper, tape, what have you. And you could also use the paper slide. Same idea, you can just tape this onto the glass slide. So you just make sure that they're aligned well. Okay. Oops. Okay. I'm just like taping it so that it stays in place. On the other side. And if it's even smaller organism that swims around, then you can use the microwell PVC, which is this. It comes with these tiny holes like that, or you could use, see, the paper version of that, which is here, like that, and then you put your sample in these wells like this. And these are really handy, especially with tiny swimmers, because the tiny swimmers just gets trapped inside this little hole, so you don't have to keep chasing them around. But I'm gonna use this bigger wells today, since I've already taped it on my slide. Tape it pretty securely. Okay, I think that's enough. Okay, so this is nicely placed. So now I'm gonna go ahead and then try to capture something interesting. So I've been very successful with this pond scum sample, and then there's this kind of film on top of the water. It's almost like white fuzz. So I'm gonna try to capture that with my dropper. And then always pop the air bubbles if they ever. And sometimes they're stubborn. There you go. Went away. Okay. Ooh, I caught a really huge piece of gunk. Okay, I'm gonna scrape it off the side of this. Okay. There you go. Alright, so that's enough water. Okay, now this time I'm going to use a glass cover slip. It's just a glass cover slip gives much better clarity. Okay, and then noticing that there's not enough water in here, so I'm gonna put a little bit more. It's very hard to raise the glass cover slip after you there, Bubble? Place it back on. Okay. Alright. Now I'm going to tape the cover slip securely in place. The other side too. Okay. All right. 9, 2018, pond, scum, sample. Okay, let's take a look and see what we find. Okay, put cap on that. Okay. Hopefully we'll see something. Oh, and to make sure the cover slip side is down towards the lens. Okay. Slide up a little bit. There you go. And then align the sample with the lens. Okay, just the general area where I think this most sample is gonna be. Okay, and then let's take a look. Okay. Now the hunting begins. Hunting for a swimmer. Okay. So always bring a pretty good focus. And then kind of scan the area. I'm not sure if we're gonna find anything. Might take a while. If we don't see anything, then we'll make another sample. Nope, these are just water droplets. Might need to make another. Okay. So the challenge is that the water kind of seeps out. Like on the, let me show you what the problem that I'm having currently is. The water is seeping out from the edges, so that the well is not containing the water. And that problem is because I did not secure this paper really tight enough. So let's fix that. I'm gonna set that aside and then make another sample, but this time I'm gonna just use this paper slide. And see if that solves the problem. Because if you use the paper slide, then it already has this raised edges. So that might just solve the problem that you were having, Mariana, if you're still watching. Okay, let's see if I catch anything here. Let's see. And that's way too much water. So I'm gonna remove that. You see that? That's way too much water. So the excess water. Okay. All right. And then place another slip on top. Sealing all four sides while sort of letting the water fill the whole entire well. And then if water seeps out like that, you can just wipe it off while resealing the edges really well. Okay. All right. Okay. Some air bubbles, but that's okay. Okay, now I'm gonna stack the sample on top of 2 blank paper slides so that the thickness is similar as a regular glass slide, like that. label. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look. Cover slip side down. Okay. Okay. As before, I'm using a natural light coming through the window. Bringing the image into focus, and I already see something swimming. That's great. Let's see. Let's focus, then zoom in. Now I'm moving the fold. Ooh, now that was a big one that just came kind of into the field of view and then out. Oh, this is a very rich sample. I wonder if that's a debris or if that, oh, now there's one. Oh, that's a very active one. Let's see. Ooh. Oh, that was an air bubble. Okay. Let's chase that one a little bit. Where did you go? There you are. And there it is. Oh, the two of them are sort of lined up next to each other. I'm gonna play with the light a little bit, tilting it up and down. See other parts. Okay, I'm gonna zoom out. Adjust the focus. Hmm. Zoom out. I lost movement. Here. And as the time passes, the oxygen level inside the sample also goes down, so therefore these tiny organisms start to kind of lose their vigor or energy. So that might be why I'm not seeing them as quickly moving around as they were before. Let's zoom into this blob. Oop, oop. I just saw something move in and out. Oh, now, are you something? Are you moving on its own? Oh, yes, you are moving on your own. Oop. Where are you? Where did you go? There you are. Okay, just went down again. Oh, it's so shy. Come on. Stay within the field of view. I want to see you a little closer. Oh, this might be really prone to, if you're prone to motion sickness, this video might be a little tough for you. Let's see. Ah. Oh, there you are. Oh, it's so hard to predict how it moves. Wish you would take a break somewhere. Okay. This is really kind of flat looking thing with a tail that it uses to tether itself momentarily as it kind of swims around. and it's really quick. Oh, that's a great question. Let's see. Web page or book I can recommend to learn how to prepare slides. Let's see. I can't think from the top of my head because when I learned how to prepare samples, it was, learning from my mentors, kind of showing me how to do it side by side. So that's how I learned. But I can kind of look around and see what if I see anything that I like. I'm assuming you've also done a little bit more like Googling and researching online, and if you found anything that you liked, please share on Microcosmos post. And I will also do my research and see if I find anything that I like. But yes, microscopy, it's the viewing, and it's, adjusting the light and everything. But then there's this whole, yeah, it's true. There's definitely an art to the sample prep. It's definitely true. But generally, when I'm preparing wet mounts, I just make sure that I eliminate air bubbles, because air bubbles really reflect light everywhere, and it really kind of distracts you from the sample that you actually want to look at. So yeah, that's kind of what I have in mind to do, is to make sure that I eliminate as much of the air bubble as possible. And if I'm preparing dry mounts, then first I try to find thin enough samples already so that I don't have to cut them or to make them thin. But if you're looking to image a cross section, then that's a whole another story. You kind of have to practice how to cut a sample in a very, very thin slice. And that's when your skills with a razor becomes very important. Okay, so this guy, this little organism, is finally sort of in place, staying in one place. Okay, so now I'm gonna play with the light so that we can see it better. There. Oh, that's a good. Please stay. Okay, it's moving away from us. Oh, and the time flies. It's us. We have reached our 60-minute mark. Before we sign off, is there any last minute thoughts or questions or anything like that? I think with the sample prep, it's really the more you practice, the better you get. Yes. So keep practicing and keep exploring, Mariana. And thank you so much for tuning in. This has been the last YouTube workshop of this month, and we may try this method again next month. Um, so stay tuned for future updates on our event page on foldscope.com. Okay, so so thank you so much for tuning in, and hope to see you next time. Okay, bye bye.